Right now, hundreds of millions of people across the globe watch a single creator's videos. But that level of attention doesn't materialize out of nowhere. We have to ask how a kid sitting alone in his bedroom manages to capture the eyes of the entire world. To find out, we have to go back to 2012, to Wichita, Kansas. Jimmy Donaldson was a 13-year-old kid who loved video games and spent his free time online. He created a YouTube channel called MrBeast 6000. His basic setup was an ordinary desktop, a cheap webcam, and gameplay clips he recorded himself. It is the exact same starting line experienced by millions of teenagers who upload a few unpolished videos, get almost zero views, and eventually move on to something else. Between 2012 and 2017, he uploaded constantly, and almost nobody watched. A typical video might get fewer than 100 views. While his classmates were navigating normal social lives and going to parties, Jimmy was sitting in his room, talking to a lens, broadcasting to an empty room. Pouring that much time into a project with zero financial return and barely any comments takes a severe psychological toll. Most people look at those metrics and accept defeat. To survive those 5 years of silence, he began viewing every ignored upload as a distinct data point. Jimmy approached YouTube with the rigor of a researcher, treating every low-performing video as a controlled experiment. He focused his attention entirely on the platform's recommendation system. He needed to map out the hidden mechanics that decided which videos were buried and which were pushed to the front page. He systematically tested variations of titles and thumbnails to see what visual cues forced higher click-through rates. He tracked audience retention second by second, locating exact moments viewers clicked away, so he could cut the dull parts from his next edit. He pulled his friends into this process. Instead of consuming content for fun, they spent hours locked in group calls, intensely debating these data metrics. Those 5 years in the dark provided him with a rigorous, self-taught education. He was building a tested framework for mass attention. In 2017, he put that framework to the test with an idea that sounded completely absurd. He sat down to count from 1 to 100,000. It wasn't a trick. He actually stayed in his chair, staring at the camera, for nearly 40 continuous hours until he finished the task. The upload performed exactly as his research suggested it would. It pulled in millions of views and dragged his channel completely out of obscurity. He found a psychological trigger. Committing to a physical feat so unusual created a spectacle that people felt compelled to verify with a click. It proved his theories were correct. He now had a functioning model for capturing an audience. As the money from ads and sponsors started rolling in, Jimmy made a highly unusual economic decision. Rather than keeping his new income, he put almost every dollar straight back into the budget for his next video. He channeled these growing budgets into generosity, taking tens of thousands of dollars and simply handing it to people who needed it. The scale of the gifts expanded right alongside his viewership. Cash giveaways evolved into handing over the keys to entire fleets of vehicles to unsuspecting strangers. Eventually, he was purchasing and gifting entire houses. It was a format that combined rapid-fire entertainment with genuine, heavy emotional stakes. By linking his algorithmic knowledge with raw human empathy, he built a compounding growth loop. His budgets became so massive that competing creators simply couldn't afford to replicate his content. Today, those increasingly ambitious stunts have grown into a diversified billion-dollar business infrastructure. His operations extend far beyond the internet, moving into physical consumer goods, food lines, and translated channels that reach an international audience. The teenager studying video metrics in the dark is now the mature architect of a sprawling global company. His dominance is the mathematical result of taking every available resource and aggressively reinvesting it back into the production. Look closely at his path, and you find a clear set of instructions. The first is that showing up consistently for years without reward is the baseline requirement for success. The second is an obsession with improvement. You have to strip the emotion out of failure and study it objectively to find out what went wrong. The third is a willingness to absorb risk. You have to be comfortable executing the massive ideas that everyone else will dismiss as entirely crazy. Strip away the stadium crowds, the millions of dollars, and the global businesses, and you are left with a solitary creator and a camera. Every massive achievement is built on a foundation of unglamorous, solitary effort. If you are willing to study your mistakes and refuse to stop uploading, you can build anything.